All right, guys, in today's video, we've got a Chevrolet Cruze here, first generation, and the problem is that the low beam headlights are not working, both of them. I'm going to show you a couple of quick tests to eliminate any possible parts of the circuit that might be causing that before we go to the bulbs. So the things we're going to test here, we've got the headlight switch down here, and we've got up here on the dash, this little bulging guy here is the ambient light sensor. And so the first test I'm going to show you how you can do is we're going to stick the ignition key in and we're going to start the engine. And if I go down to the switch here, you can see that I've got a off, auto, marker lights, and headlight override button. And if I flick this switch to the left to the off button position, hopefully we can zoom out a little bit. You can see what it does on the driver information panel here in the middle. So if I flick it to the left, it says that the lights are off. And if I flick it to auto, it's going to say the lights are on. So again, flick it to the left, off, and then flick it again, it turns it back to auto, and it tells you that the lights are on, right? So with confirmation that we're in auto mode, if we walk out to the front of the vehicle now, we take a look at the headlights, we can see that nothing's on. It's daylight. Now what I'm going to do, if we come back here and look through the windshield on the glass, I'm going to cover this sensor up with a rag. Make sure that no light gets in there. And then we're going to watch the front here. And there's like a internal timer with the body control module. And at some point, as you can see, the ambient light sensor has triggered, told the body control module that it's dark, even though it's bright in the middle of the day here. And we can see that the marker lights are on automatically. This now has eliminated the ambient light sensor as a problem that's causing this situation. Now if I go and flick on the high beams, we should see if those work, even though the low beams are out. All right, so the low beam, high beam indicator is on, and the high beam bulbs are working. So at this point, I know that the headlight switch is not causing this problem, and the ambient light sensor is not causing this problem. So let's go straight to the bulbs. All right, so like I mentioned, both low beam headlights are out at the same time. It's very, very unlikely, kind of rare, that both bulbs would go out at exactly the same time, but it is possible. So since we've eliminated the ambient light sensor and the headlight switch, let's take a look at the bulb. So start on the passenger side because it's the easiest to access. It's going to be this aqua colored connector that I'm getting some of the dust off here. And we're going to just need to remove this lock. This white piece of plastic prevents us from depressing this switch to release this. So we're just going to go inside here, push this down so that we can get this guy to push down. Sometimes you can get it without removing it. Sometimes you got to fully remove it. Hopefully that's enough here. There we go. All right, so now we got the connector off, and we're just going to turn this guy to the left. So I'm going to turn it that way towards the driver's side. Now allow me to remove the bulb. All right, so this is a combination high and low beam. You don't ever want to touch the glass on these halogen type bulbs, but just looking at the filaments, there's not anything immediately obviously wrong with it. But what we're going to do is we're going to plug in a replacement bulb for this, H13, and we're going to see if that addresses the problem. It's an easy enough test. All right, guys, I've put the old bulb in a little baggie here so we don't accidentally touch it and damage it. I've gone inside and turned the headlights off so that if this is the problem, we don't get zapped when we plug the new one in. We're going to put in a GM 1350 3418. Now, you never know what brand you're going to get in the box with these. You know, the old one we took off was made by Sylvania. This one is made by Vosla. Right, so the different suppliers to GM. The original one was a Sylvania. We don't know if this is bad yet. We're going to find out. All right, so we're just going to find out the orientation for the connector. Plug it back in. Twist it back this time towards the passenger side. If we can get the right notches here. Come on. There's one big one and two small ones. And I obviously lined them up wrong. Might have to get a mirror to see how they go. Let's just leave it like that until we can see if it works. I'm going to go in and turn the headlights on manual mode, which is all the way to the right. And it works. So surprisingly, what we probably got going on here are two bad bulbs at the same time. But I thought it was worthwhile showing you some of the diagnostics here. Let's go ahead and get this one snapped in, and we'll change out the one on the driver's side. All right, let's just find out the right orientation. So big, small, small. You can use a mirror, and we can see big, small, small. So if we line it up correctly this time, with big up on the top here, now it's turning. All right, good. All right, so that one's locked in, and then we can push this little lock back in. Let's go do the driver's side. All right, this one's a little bit more of a tighter fit because we've got the filler neck for the washer fluid in the way here. But same kind of deal, we want to get this little lock released first. We just don't even have enough room to get the lock out even. Might have to pull this little spout off. We'll have to see. Let's see if we can do it without doing that first. Right, there's the connector. Get that out of the way. Twist it to the driver's side. Yep, we got the clearance to get this out. So obviously we've got a second bad bulb. Now what I did is I picked up not just a GM one, but also a straight up Sylvania. So the actual OEM bulb would be just a straight up Sylvania H13. And you can tell because it's got the exact same writing on here. 26X, model 64178, which is exactly what GM was reboxing at the time on the assembly line. These particular bulbs are made in the USA. Put a link to both of them in the video description. Again, we want to get this guy out without touching the glass. All right, we got the same big, small, small to line up here on the tabs. And the big one is up here in the upper corner right here. Gonna have to block your view for a minute to get in here enough to push it and twist it. Very stubborn to get in there and twist, I tell you. Cannot get the leverage. Let me just make sure I've got the right 3 tabs here. Small, small, big. Small, small, big. It's always something, guys. Even the most simple jobs end up becoming a problem. Because we cannot get it to be happy enough to twist on. What we're fighting here is, if you look on the side here, there's this little rubber gasket, this red guy, and you got to compress this little red gasket while you push this little guy in. You see it's shaped like a half moon, and we got to get him in enough to ride that in order to make a watertight seal. That's what we're trying to do, and we've got this filler neck in our way at the moment. I guess I could pull it out, but I want to avoid doing that. And actually, you know what, guys? I'm going to say, whoops. Whoops, whoops, whoops. That's my bad. that little guy is already in the new bulb. I didn't catch that. It's my first day. There we go. Now we got it on there. My bad. I'm going to have to go back and check and see if we made that same mistake on the passenger side. Yep, guys, I made the same mistake on both of these. So, gasket's already there. The old one got stuck in here. And as we press it in now, it turns and locks with ease. Which just goes to show you when you're having problems, don't force it. All right, so this is fixed now, I believe. So we're going to step back. We're going to turn the headlights on manual. We're going to make sure both of them work. Problem solved. And fortunately, it wasn't anything difficult. All right, guys, so we lucked out in it only being 2 bulbs. I can't say that I've ever seen 2 bulbs die at exactly the same time, but that's what happened to the owner of this vehicle. It turned out not to be that bad. What would we have looked at next if this wasn't the problem? Well, if this wasn't the problem, there's no fuses for the low beam on this model vehicle, and there's no headlight relay on this model vehicle. Both of those functions are part of the body control module. So if we hadn't found a problem with the bulbs, our next stop would have been to go debug a problem with the BCM. There are some fuses for the BCM, but they would have caused more than the headlights to be affected. So we would have had a much harder job. So fortunately, this is it, and we're done, and we can get their owner on their way. If you got questions or comments about what we did here, leave them below and I'll try to help. I'll put links in the description to the replacement bulbs if you need them. If you found this saved you some money and time and helped you get your problem resolved, taught you how to check the ambient sensor and the headlight switch, I appreciate you taking the time to pay it forward and hit that like button. And as always, thanks for watching.